You're not cold. You just finally stop tolerating nonsense. Your life transforms the moment you stop accepting what diminishes your spirit. Standing tall isn't being cold, it's finally honoring the flame within you that refuses to be dimmed. I remember standing by the ocean one evening, watching waves crash against the shore. The setting sun painted the water gold, and in that moment, a simple truth washed over me. I wasn't being mean or difficult. I had simply stopped accepting what no longer served my highest purpose. That realization transformed my life, and today I want to share this powerful truth with you. When you stop tolerating nonsense, people might call you cold. But you're not cold. You're clear. You're not harsh. You're honest. You're not selfish. You're finally honoring your sacred worth. The truth is, many of us were raised to believe that being kind meant saying yes to everything. We were taught that love requires endless accommodation and that putting ourselves last is somehow noble. But this isn't love. It's a recipe for resentment. Real kindness comes from a genuine heart, not from obligation or fear of rejection. Think about that for a moment. How much of your life have you spent accepting behaviors, situations, and relationships that drain your energy? How often have you said yes when your heart was screaming no? The path to real peace isn't found in pleasing others at your own expense. It's found in honoring what you know to be true for you. You see, when you start setting healthy boundaries, some people won't like it. They've grown accustomed to you being available whenever they need something. They've gotten used to you saying yes even when it hurts you. And when that pattern changes, they might say you've become cold or uncaring. But that's not what's happening at all. What's really happening is beautiful. You're finally caring enough about yourself to live honestly. That's not cold, that's courageous. That's not selfish, that's self-respect. I want you to repeat these words after me, even if just in your mind. I am not cold. I have simply stopped accepting what doesn't align with my highest good. The truth is, many of us were taught that being kind means always saying yes. We were taught that love means endless accommodation. We were taught that putting ourselves last is a virtue. But I'm here to tell you that this isn't love. It's fear disguised as love. Real love, including self-love, includes healthy boundaries. When you stop tolerating nonsense, you're not becoming less loving. You're actually creating space for more authentic love to flow in your life. You're making room for relationships based on mutual respect rather than obligation or manipulation. Let's be honest about the real cost of tolerating nonsense in your life. It's not just about annoying behaviors or difficult people. The toll runs much deeper than that. Every time you say yes when you mean no, a little piece of your energy drains away. Every time you laugh off disrespect instead of addressing it, your self-worth takes a hit. Every time you pretend something is okay when it's not, you create distance between your authentic self and the person you present to the world. The physical cost is real. Your body keeps the score, as they say. That tension in your shoulders, those headaches, that feeling of exhaustion that won't go away. These are often messages from your body saying, something isn't right here. Your immune system weakens under the strain of constant compromise. Your sleep suffers, your health deteriorates. The body doesn't lie, it reveals what the mind tries to hide. The emotional cost is just as significant. Anxiety builds as you walk on eggshells around people who don't respect your boundaries. Depression can settle in when you feel powerless to change these dynamics. Resentment grows, and with it comes anger that often gets turned inward, because you know on some level that you're allowing the situation to continue. This emotional burden becomes heavier with each boundary violated. And the spiritual cost? That might be the greatest of all. When you continually betray your own truth to keep others comfortable, you lose touch with your inner guidance system. That quiet voice of wisdom gets harder to hear. Your connection to your higher self, to the infinite wisdom of the universe, becomes strained. I experienced this myself many years ago in my own family relationships. I found myself saying yes to demands on my time and energy that left me depleted. I found myself nodding and smiling through conversations that violated my core values. I found myself making excuses for behavior that was, frankly, inexcusable. And do you know what happened? I got sick. Really sick. My body finally said enough because I wouldn't. That illness became my wake-up call. Lying in a hospital bed, I had plenty of time to reflect on how I had abandoned myself in so many small ways, day after day. During my recovery, I made a vow to myself. I would no longer tolerate what violated my sense of self-respect. I would speak my truth, even when my voice shook. I would set boundaries, even when they weren't popular. And yes, some people called me cold. Some people said I had changed, and not for the better. But what they couldn't see was the profound peace that was growing inside me. That decision changed everything. My health improved, my creativity flourished, and most surprisingly, my relationships, the ones that mattered, actually deepened. Because authenticity, it turns out, is the soil in which real intimacy grows. This journey begins with truly understanding your worth. Not your accomplishments, not your possessions, not even your relationships. Your inherent worth as a conscious being having a human experience. When you deeply understand that you are worthy of respect simply because you exist, setting boundaries becomes not just possible, but necessary. Your worth isn't something you earn. It's not something others can give you or take away. Your worth is intrinsic to who you are. It's woven into the fabric of your being, and when you truly get this, not just intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually, everything changes. Think about it this way. Would you allow someone to come into your home and steal your most precious possessions? Would you smile and offer them tea while they walked out with your family heirlooms? Of course not. And yet, how often do we allow others to rob us of our time, our energy, our peace of mind, our self-respect? Setting boundaries isn't about building walls. It's about honoring what's precious to you. It's about recognizing that your life force is sacred and deserves protection. It's about understanding that by guarding your energy, you actually have more to give from a place of fullness rather than depletion. This isn't selfishness. Selfishness takes without giving. What I'm talking about is self-zen-ness, maintaining your own cup so that you can truly serve others from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Now, I understand the fear that comes with setting boundaries. I've counseled thousands of people who hesitate to stand in their truth because they're afraid of the consequences. Let's talk about those fears directly, because bringing them into the light reduces their power over you. Perhaps you worry that people will leave you if you stop accommodating their every need. And you know what? Some might. But consider this. Any relationship that requires you to diminish yourself isn't really serving your highest good. Any connection that depends on your self-betrayal isn't a connection worth preserving at that cost. Some of you fear conflict. You've been peacekeepers all your lives, smoothing ruffled feathers and making sure everyone else is comfortable, often at your own expense. The thought of saying no, of potentially causing someone else discomfort, feels almost unbearable. But consider the conflict that's already occurring within you. The battle between your authentic self and the role you've been playing. That internal conflict takes a far greater toll than the temporary discomfort of an honest conversation. Others worry about being seen as difficult or demanding, especially my sisters in the audience. You've been socialized to be accommodating, to put others first, to never cause a fuss. The conditioning runs deep. But ask yourself, would you rather be liked for who you're pretending to be, or respected for who you truly are? Some fear losing their identity as the helper, the giver, the one who's always there. You built your self-concept around being needed, and the thought of redefining yourself feels like stepping off a cliff without knowing what's below. Let me assure you, what's below is solid ground. What's below is the foundation of your authentic self, waiting to be rediscovered. What's below is a strength you've always had, but perhaps haven't fully claimed. And then there's the fear that you simply don't know how to set boundaries. Maybe you didn't have models for this growing up. Maybe you've spent so long accommodating others that you're not even sure what your own needs and limits are anymore. That's okay. Like any skill, boundary setting can be learned. It's a practice, and with practice comes improvement. You don't have to get it perfect right away. You just need to begin. So let's talk about practical steps you can take to stop tolerating nonsense in your life. These aren't complicated, but they do require courage and commitment. First, get clear on what matters to you. What are your non-negotiable values? What treatment do you deserve simply by virtue of being a conscious being? What behaviors cross the line for you? Clarity is the foundation of effective boundaries. Take some quiet time for honest reflection. Journal about times when you've felt resentful, anxious, or depleted after interactions with certain people. These negative emotions are often signals that a boundary has been crossed. Pay attention to them. They contain valuable information. Next, practice using simple, direct language to express your boundaries. You don't need elaborate explanations or apologies. In fact, over-explaining often weakens your message. Try phrases like, "That doesn't work for me," or "I'm not available for that," or "I need to step away from this conversation now." Start with situations where the stakes feel lower. Setting boundaries is like building a muscle. You want to start with weights you can manage before taking on the heavy lifting. Practice with service providers, with acquaintances, in situations where you feel relatively safe. Remember that you can set boundaries with love. Your tone matters. You can be firm and kind simultaneously. This isn't about punishing others or proving a point. It's about honoring your truth while still recognizing the humanity in the other person. Expect resistance. When you change the dance, your dance partners will likely feel uncomfortable. They might push back, test your limits, or try to make you feel guilty. This doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something different. And change often meets resistance. Have compassion for yourself through this process. You will sometimes falter. You'll sometimes give in when you meant to stand firm. That's okay. Each time you try again, you're strengthening your boundary-setting muscles. Create physical space when necessary. Sometimes the most powerful way to protect your energy is simply to remove yourself from situations that drain you. This might mean leaving a room, taking a break from certain relationships, or even changing jobs if the environment is toxic. Surround yourself with people who respect and support your boundaries. We become like the 5 people we spend the most time with, as the saying goes. Choose to spend time with those who honor their own boundaries and respect yours. Practice saying no without explanation when appropriate. No is a complete sentence. You don't always owe people elaborate justifications for your choices, especially when they affect your well-being. And be prepared to enforce consequences when boundaries are repeatedly violated. Boundaries without consequences are just suggestions. Decide in advance what action you'll take if someone continues to cross your lines. And follow through with calm determination. One of the most beautiful aspects of setting healthy boundaries is the unexpected gifts that come with this practice. When you stop tolerating nonsense, wonderful things begin to happen. First, you discover a new kind of energy. It's as if all the power you were using to maintain uncomfortable situations gets released back to you. Many people report feeling physically lighter, sleeping better, and having more creative energy after they start honoring their boundaries. Your relationships transform. Yes, some might fall away, and that can be painful. But the ones that remain often deepen in remarkable ways. When people know where you stand, when they understand what works for you and what an excessive accommodation, you can hear your inner wisdom more clearly. That still, small voice gets louder and more reliable. You discover who your true friends are. Some people are in your life simply because you've been easy to manipulate or take advantage of. When that's no longer the case, they tend to disappear, making room for those who appreciate the authentic you. Your creativity flourishes. There's a direct connection between honoring your boundaries and accessing your creative gifts. When you're not spending emotional energy on managing difficult relationships or situations, that energy becomes available for creation. You develop a stronger sense of identity. Rather than being defined by what others need or want from you, you begin to know yourself on your own terms. This is incredibly liberating. And perhaps most importantly, you find a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. When your unconscious is no longer hostage to others' behaviors or opinions, you discover an unshakable center within yourself. This peace is what the ancient wisdom traditions have pointed to for thousands of years. It's your birthright as a conscious being. When you release the exhausting grip of people-pleasing and boundary violations, the energy that was tied up in maintaining those patterns becomes available for inner connection. You begin to sense that there's a part of you that remains untouched by drama and chaos. This peaceful center doesn't need to be created, it simply needs to be uncovered. As you continue this journey of setting healthy boundaries, you'll notice something profound happening. You begin to reconnect with your authentic self. Many of us have spent so long accommodating others that we've lost touch with who we really are beneath all the roles and responsibilities. Your authentic self isn't something you need to create or invent. It's already there, waiting to be rediscovered. It's the part of you that knew exactly what you wanted before the world told you what you should want. It's the part of you that spoke your truth before you learned it was safer to stay quiet. It's the essence of who you are beneath all the adaptations and compromises. I often think of your authentic self as a diamond buried under layers of soil. The diamond didn't need to be created, it was always there, perfect and complete. Life simply covered it with layers of conditioning and expectations. Your journey isn't about becoming something new, it's about excavation, carefully removing what isn't truly you to reveal the brilliance that's been there all along. With each boundary you set, you remove another shovelful of dirt covering your true nature. Every time you say, "This doesn't work for me," you're polishing a facet of that diamond. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you've always been beneath the compromises. When you stop tolerating nonsense, you create space to hear this authentic self again. In the quiet that comes from refusing drama and manipulation, your true voice emerges. And it often has surprising things to say. You might discover passions you set aside years ago. You might find that your values have shifted. You might realize that some of the goals you've been pursuing aren't actually your own, but were adopted to please others or meet external expectations. This reconnection with your authentic self isn't always comfortable. Sometimes we've been out of touch with ourselves for so long that the reconnection process feels strange, even frightening. That's normal. Trust the process. One practice that can help is regular periods of solitude. Not isolation, but intentional alone time, where you can hear yourself think without the influence of others' opinions and needs. Even 15 minutes a day of quiet reflection can begin this homecoming journey. Pay attention to what brings you genuine joy, not just temporary pleasure or relief. Joy is often a signpost pointing toward your authentic path. Notice when you lose track of time because you're so engaged in what you're doing. That state of flow is another clue. Listen to your body's wisdom. Our bodies often know our truth before our minds catch up. That feeling of expansion in your chest when something is right for you, that sense of contraction when something violates your integrity. These physical sensations are valuable guidance. As you become reacquainted with your authentic self, treat this rediscovery with tenderness. You're meeting a dear friend who's been waiting patiently for your return. Be curious rather than judgmental. Be open to surprises and celebrate each moment of recognition. One of the most persistent myths about boundary setting is that it damages relationships. Many people fear that if they stop being endlessly accommodating, their relationships will suffer. But the opposite is actually true. Healthy boundaries enhance relationships in powerful ways. Think about it. When you're constantly saying yes when you mean no, when you're accommodating behavior that doesn't feel right to you, a subtle resentment builds. Over time, that resentment corrodes the foundation of even the most loving relationships. You might be physically present, but emotionally, you're withdrawing a little more each time your boundaries are crossed. When you clearly communicate your limits and needs, you create the conditions for real intimacy to flourish. Intimacy isn't built on pretense or sacrifice. It's built on authenticity and mutual respect. By being honest about who you are and what you need, you invite others to do the same. Consider how exhausting it is to try to read someone's mind, to guess at their needs and limits because they never clearly express them. When you're straightforward about your boundaries, you relieve others of this burden. There's a clarity that's actually deeply respectful. Real relationships aren't built on endless accommodation. They're built on the beautiful dance of two whole individuals choosing to share their lives while maintaining their distinct identities. There's a word for relationships where one person completely subsumes their needs to serve another: codependency. And it's not healthy for either party. I've seen countless relationships transform when people begin setting healthy boundaries. After the initial adjustment period, which can admittedly be rocky, there's often a new depth, a new honesty, a new level of respect that wasn't possible before. Parents often fear that setting boundaries with their children means loving them less, but children actually thrive with clear, consistent boundaries. They feel safer knowing where the lines are, and they learn critical life skills by watching how you honor your own needs while still caring for theirs. Even in professional relationships, clear boundaries lead to greater respect and often greater opportunity. When you're known as someone who values your time and expertise, who communicates clearly about what you can and cannot take on, you typically find that your professional stock rises rather than falls. The relationships that can't survive your healthy boundaries weren't really serving your highest good in the first place. Letting them go, while painful in the short term, creates space for connections that honor all of who you are. For many of us, the greatest challenge in setting boundaries isn't the external resistance we face, it's our own internal guilt. We've been conditioned to believe that prioritizing our own needs is somehow wrong or selfish. This conditioning runs deep, and untangling from it requires conscious effort. Guilt and obligation have been powerful tools used to keep people, especially women, but men too, in their assigned places. Think about the phrases we've all heard. After all I've done for you. Family always comes first, no matter what. I sacrificed everything for you. These statements leverage guilt to override our natural boundaries. The first step in moving beyond guilt is recognizing that you have been conditioned. These feelings didn't originate within you, they were installed, often by well-meaning people who were operating from their own conditioning. Seeing this clearly helps create some distance from these emotions. Next, question the beliefs underlying your guilt. Who says you must always be available? Who says your needs come last? Who says your feelings matter less than others? Are these beliefs actually true? Or are they simply familiar? These questions aren't just rhetorical. They're invitations to examine the unconscious programming that's running your life. Ask yourself, where did these beliefs come from? Were they taught explicitly, or did you absorb them by watching others? Remember, beliefs are not facts. They're learned, and they can be unlearned. Practice distinguishing between responsibility and over-responsibility. You are responsible for your own actions, words, and choices. You are not responsible for others' emotions, reactions, or choices. This distinction is crucial for healthy boundary setting. Remember that discomfort is not danger. When you first start setting boundaries, the discomfort of guilt can feel overwhelming. Your nervous system might interpret this feeling as a threat. Breathe through it. Remind yourself that emotional discomfort, while unpleasant, will not destroy you. Recognize that in many cases, your boundaries actually serve others in the long run. By preventing resentment from building, by modeling healthy self-care, by showing up as your authentic self, you offer others gifts that your endless accommodation never could. When guilt arises, and it will, treat it with compassion rather than judgment. Thank it for trying to protect you from social rejection, which our ancestral brains interpret as a survival threat. Then gently remind yourself that you're not in actual danger. You're simply growing. Obligation and guilt keep us tethered to the past. They keep us small. They keep us from expressing our full potential. Moving beyond them is not just about personal comfort. It's about fulfilling your purpose here on this earth. As we bring our time together to a close, I want to leave you with this powerful truth. Setting boundaries is not about closing yourself off from others. It's about opening yourself up to your highest potential. When you stop tolerating nonsense, you're not becoming cold. You're becoming clear. And in that clarity, something magical happens. You begin to operate from a higher level of consciousness. Most people live their lives from a place of reaction. Something happens, they react. Someone makes a demand, they comply or resist. They're constantly at the mercy of external circumstances and others' expectations. But there's another way to live. From intention rather than reaction. From choice rather than obligation. From love rather than fear. When you know who you are, when you're clear about your values and boundaries, you gain the freedom to respond to life thoughtfully rather than reactively. You create a space between stimulus and response, where your wisdom can operate. This is what it means to live from a higher consciousness. It's not about spiritual bypass or pretending everything is perfect. It's about being fully present and authentic in each moment, guided by your inner wisdom rather than external pressure. From this place, you'll find that your capacity to love actually expands. When you're not drained by relationships and situations that don't honor your worth, you have more to give to what truly matters. Your generosity flows from fullness rather than obligation. Your creativity flourishes because you're no longer spending your life force managing difficult people and situations. Your purpose becomes clearer because you can hear your own inner guidance without the static of others' demands. The journey of setting boundaries and stopping tolerance for nonsense isn't always easy. There will be moments of doubt. There will be people who don't understand. There will be times when you question whether it's worth it. In those moments, I want you to remember this. Every time you honor your boundaries, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the world. You're contributing to a culture where authenticity is valued over pretense, where respect is the foundation of relationships, where each person's inherent worth is recognized and honored. This is how we create change, not through grand gestures, but through the daily practice of living our truth. Not by forcing others to change, but by changing how we show up in the world. So no, you're not cold. You've simply awakened to your own worth. You've recognized that life is too short and too precious to waste on relationships and situations that diminish rather than enhance your spirit. You've decided to stop settling for crumbs when you deserve the whole feast. And in that decision, you've given others permission to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. Your clarity becomes a beacon. Your boundaries become bridges to more authentic connections. Thank you for being on this journey. Thank you for having the courage to examine your life and make changes where needed. Thank you for contributing to a world where we all can live more authentically, more honestly, and ultimately more lovingly, because that's what this is all about. Not less love, but more authentic love. Not closing down, but opening up to what truly matters. You're not cold, you're awake. And the world needs your awakened heart and clear boundaries now more than ever before,